Holiday rare drops are bad. Here's why. The premise of this is explaining how the rare holiday mounts, I'm talking about the Love Rocket, the Headless Horseman, are actually toxic to the game and should no longer be a part of the holiday events. So the first part of this is laying the foundation in the context for the problem. The author goes on to describe a new addition into the game called manuscripts. Basically, your dragon, for dragon riding and dragonflight, it can equip different pieces of aesthetical armor. And there are new holiday manuscripts that have been added into the game that are on a super, super low drop chance. The author sees these new additions, and he's worried that Blizzard is going down a path of implementing a lot of baseline holiday items on an obscenely rare level. Now, the real meat and potatoes begins with this section, the parallels with the past. So let's start here. While manuscripts are new, this isn't the first rare drop from a holiday, and likely won't be the last. When talking about those, the most infamous example is, of course, the X45 Heartbreaker, the Love Rocket mount. Its drop rate was the worst among mounts and was the bane of collectors for over a decade until its drop rate was changed in 2023. Now, you might say to yourself, well, hold on a second. There are other rare drops in the game that are just as toxic. The Heavenly Onyx Cloud Serpent from Mist of Pandaria, even the World Boss mounts from Mist of Pandaria. How are those different than the holiday mounts? And why are those okay and not these? Well, they go on to explain exactly why. The game has other low drop rate mounts. Why aren't they as problematic as the X45? Well, besides the fact that the X45 has the lowest drop rate in the game at 1 to 3,333, it has a double lock, locked behind a low drop rate and a limited time event. A good comparison to make is against the other group of originally low drop rate mounts, the Pandaria World Bosses. Pandaria World Bosses were infamous for having a 1 in 2,000 drop rate with a weekly lockout. You had 52 attempts per year per character to obtain one of these mounts, or a 2.5 per 6 chance per year. Now, let's look at the original X45 drop rate. You have a 1 in 3,333 odds of looting it, but you only have 14 attempts per year per character, which leaves you with a total chance per year of around 0.41% chance per character. So while at first glance it seems only 60% more likely to get a World Boss mount than X45, when taking into account its limited availability, you are over 6 times more likely to loot a World Boss mount in a given year of attempts than X45. Limited availability also compounds the fear of missing out. While World Bosses and other rare mounts are available whenever you want to try them, the limited availability from manuscripts in the X45 Heartbreaker incentivizes players to go after them. While this could be used as a good opportunity to captivate players into collecting, the current system only exists to break players' hearts with staggering low drop rates. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but let's scroll down and let's see. He identifies the problems that he has with the current system. But let's see what he proposes as some solutions. The solution for these rare limited cosmetics is somewhat simple. Do not add them. That's dumb as fuck. Oh god, that's bad. Yeah, dude, don't add them. Yeah, dude. Don't add them. Yeah, they're a bitch to have. Well, how about we just don't add them? Let me pull it together. Let's keep going. Sadly, we can't go back in time. For the ones we have right now, the easiest solution would be to increase the drop rate, similar to what was done to World Bosses. However, sadly, the easiest solution usually isn't the best. In my opinion, the best solution for these cases would be to allow players to gradually build towards these alongside having the possibility of getting them. Okay, that's better. That's better. Holy. It could even be something that takes you more than one event to finish. But as long as you give players a tangible sense of progress, it would improve the acquisition process substantially. Okay. So we started off bad. I'm just going to say that. But the end part wasn't that bad. Here's what we can derive. They are frustrated with the lack of agency. They are frustrated with the lack of control and determinism that they have over a very unique and rare item. And I get that. It does suck to farm something for 10 plus years and not get it. There's definitely a point that you can reach where these items are still rare and difficult to obtain, while at the same time not being some endless death roll of never getting in after a decade. Final Fantasy, in fact, has a solution to solve this with totems. Basically, after you kill a boss a certain amount of times, you rack up some totems, and when you get enough totems, you can cash them in for a specific item for that boss. So it's sort of a pseudo bad luck protection, right? The last season of Shadowlands did something very similar with their loot in the Faded raids. But we've heard about this guy's solution, and I told you guys that there are some other community suggestions as well. Now, I've dug through them all. My favorite solution by far is going to be WoW Krendor's. Let's hear how he would fix this problem.
What I would do is I would implement a holiday coin system, all right? So how there's Brewfest coins for Brewfest, there's other currencies for other holidays. I think it's like candy for Halloween, right? You've got all these different currencies. You could, I guess, still keep those, but I think I would just scrap all of them, and I would just go with a strict holiday currency. Every holiday, you earn holiday currency, and you can accumulate all the different rewards from all the holidays and put them under one big holiday vendor, right? And you can purchase these holiday rewards any time of the year. So that's what I would enjoy, because you're now playing the holidays of World of Warcraft and encouraging people to play them because they can accumulate currency, but they would still have the chance at getting the drops from doing the thing. So you're like, oh man, I hope I get this. But while you're doing that, you're accumulating this holiday currency, right? And then at any time of the year, if you've accumulated enough currency, let's say it's like Winter's Veil, and you've done a bunch of quests to go fight the Grinch or whatever, you're like, you know what? I got enough to buy the Love Rocket now. I can go buy it. And you go to the holiday guy and you buy it. Right? I think that'd be cool. Now, there's going to be some people like, that defeats the holiday spirit. But that's where my next idea comes in, all right? When it is the current holiday, okay, so let's say we want to buy the Love Rocket, right? And we're in Winter's Veil. That Love Rocket will cost 10,000 holiday currency, right? I don't know. That's just my arbitrary random number, okay? So 10,000 holiday currency. But once we get to the Love is in the Air event, the Love Rocket then drops in price because we are now in that holiday. So instead of 10,000, maybe it's down to 5,000, right? It's half off. I mean, you can go even cheaper. Maybe it's like 75% off, right? And so that encourages you to wait for that holiday to buy that item. But if you really want it at some point during the year, you can do that, right? And I think that would be cool because you're, number one, you are encouraging people to participate in holiday events. And this can even tie into the little events, right? Like maybe you have the little world events throughout the year, and they also give holiday currency. And people be like, oh, I want to get this currency, right? And I think we've learned from the Traveler's Log that it's cool when you accumulate currency and then you can use that currency to buy things in the game, because you're then playing the game. Yeah, like, encourage people to play the game.
I actually really like his solution for a couple of different reasons. 3 core ones. Let's start off with number 1. They already do this with the time walking badges. The time walking system works in the same way. You acquire these badges from participating in Wrath of the Lich King, Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, Burning Crusade, whatever the time walking is. Then you could go to the vendor and you could purchase the mounts with just this generic time walking badge system. So there's already a precedent for that working. Number 2, it gives you a reason to do holidays that you've already completed or that you wouldn't otherwise be interested in. Let's put it this way. Say this system was in the game, and I'm slamming for Hollow's End. Okay, I love it, dude. I really want the Headless Horseman mount. Every time I see somebody walk by me in Dalaran with it, I start foaming at the mouth. But I don't like Noble Garden. I despise hunting those eggs. If there is a universal system like this, it is going to give me a reason to do Noble Garden, right? Even if I don't like it. Let's say I love Noble Garden, but I have all the achievements. I love it so much that I've completed all the event. There's no new content for me. Why would you skip that, right? Why would I go and engage with it? There's not a reason to. But this system would give me a reason towards re-engaging with a holiday that I may have otherwise grinded to completion. Yeah, gets more people engaged with it, gets more people out in the world, enjoying the holidays. And then the point about the micro holidays, excellent. Like the Day of the Dead, come on, dog. Is there a real reason to do that stuff? Not really, outside of intrinsic or little tidbits here. But this universal system, bro, if we're working for progress towards, say, a Love Rocket, dog, I'm gonna be all up in that Day of the Dead, right? And then finally, number 3, I think it preserves the sense of rarity that these big dick rewards have, while also not undermining the value of the work that it takes to achieve them. Because it's a currency, you could still set the requirements to purchase them to be very, very high, to where their rarity and their prestige isn't severely impacted, or it's not made trivial. It's still a lot of work to get those things, but you have a deterministic alternative to acquire them if you really got done dirty with the bad luck. Say you've been grinding 3, 4, 5 years for the love rocket, and the love is in the air, right? You've accumulated a huge amount of currency. Well, at that point, dog, you're just waiting on the numbers to roll your way. Yeah, you put in the work, you've outworked the majority of other collectors. This kind of feels like it almost respects players' time more so than anything. And again, this sort of system already exists in other MMOs, and it's very positively received. I'm going to refer back again to the Final Fantasy totem system, right? Where you could accrue a certain amount of totems, and then, you know, after you get, say, 100, 200, whatever, you can go cash them in for the item that you really, really want. So that's why I like the system. I think that would be a good middle ground, where it would still preserve the prestige and effort required to get some of these things, but at the same time, alleviating some player frustrations and giving us a little bit more of a deterministic option to accrue these massive and very, very low chance rewards. But what do you guys think? I think the frustration builds. Blizzard has so much RNG and things that have such small drop rates just in the everyday game, and then you add the holiday stuff, it probably bubbles up. And anyone who's played an entire season and not gotten a single trinket until the catch-up gear drops knows what I'm saying. Hi, I've felt that. I just got the Time Reaver myself, and someone in my chat said he's been grinding it nonstop since the Time Walking came out and has only ever seen it drop twice. He said something like 50k boss kills. And I think you're exactly right, Full Metal. I think that is where those frustrations apply. And in fact, we've seen this exact same thing be solved in Legion with the legendaries. When they were originally implemented into the game, the legendary system didn't have bad luck protection. And it was kind of ass, because you could grind endlessly and still not get the item that you wanted. It was only after a little bit of community outpour that they decided to tweak the numbers on that and allow for bad luck protection. I think we can all agree that someone who has killed 50,000 time-walking bosses probably deserves a fair shake at the mouth. Some sort of currency system that gives them the option to do that after, say, even the 25,000th boss kill, I think it would still preserve the rarity of the mount without having that guy lose his sanity. Do not make the love rocket easier to get. What's the point of making it drops easier? It's what makes the game important. Eventually, every mount will be handed out like candy. I agree with you, Evo. That is the slippery slope. But the key word that I think we have to take into account is the word easy. The action to get the love rocket is easy, right? You go in, you queue up, you smack a boss, it's over, right? It takes like 5 minutes. And you could probably AFK play Minesweeper on the second monitor. But everyone has got a different path to getting that mount. Some people get uber lucky, get it in the first couple of runs, while others will grind for it for a decade. Having a system in the game to alleviate those extremities, those 50,000 boss kills but no mount, wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. Because at the point where you've killed 50,000 bosses, bro, you put in that effort, right? More so than the majority of the population. So I don't think it would be a bad thing. But why is it so bad to have something that is rare and not everyone can get? I don't think it is. I honestly feel like the author of this didn't necessarily communicate the intent very well. I think the best way to look at this is there is a path where you can make this, or you can make these types of rewards something that are still really hard to get, while also giving the player a little bit more control over how they acquire it. Something we can all agree on is that it feels good to feel like you're working towards something. It feels good to know that you're objectively moving closer to your finish line, whether that's a rare mount, whatever the case may be. But with a random rolling system on something that's super, super low, that line is not always visible. You don't even know where the endpoint is, right? It could never come. You just don't know. So I feel like this is an example of not necessarily people being frustrated with how difficult it is to obtain. Like the way that I look at it, regardless of the verbiage, is like, oh, people aren't saying like, oh, dude, they should make it a 10% drop chance. Blah, blah, blah. More so like, yo, it would feel really good if there was a deterministic outlet for us to work towards something and know after we kill a boss 25,000 times, we will get this mount versus endlessly grinding to RNG. I like what the dude said about the holiday currency. Like I said before, I have a long, strange trip, and I haven't cared about a holiday ever since I got it, however many years ago. The holiday currency would bring me back for some replayability. Dude, same. I'm in the exact same boat. I can't tell you the last time I picked out a Noble Garden egg, or I've partaken in even some Winter Veil Nog. But if there was a universal system that let me work towards obtaining the Headless Horseman, I'd be all up in those holidays, man, because I really would like that mount, but I don't want it, you know, enough to lose my entire being and level 53 characters for. I mean, that just doesn't sound fun. I'd rather just do other things at that point, right? Because it's not clear that that effort will lead to that reward. But if there was a very clear-cut timeline and a very A to B sort of metric that would successfully communicate, hey, you put in this time, you do these things, you will get this, even if it's hard. And again, I want it to be hard. It would get me to go for it. I'd take that leap of faith.